Detective Jane Smith had seen it all in her many years on the job. But when she walked into the immaculate office of wealthy businessman Frank Birmingham, she knew this was no ordinary crime scene. Birmingham was slumped across his desk, a look of terror frozen onto his face. Blood was pooled around him, and there were signs of a struggle. The room was in chaos, and it was clear that a fierce fight had taken place. It didn't take long for Jane to determine that this was most likely a murder. And with her sharp investigative skills, she was able to quickly identify the prime suspect, Birmingham's wife, Susan. Susan had been the last person to see her husband alive, and there was no denying that she had a motive. The couple had been fighting fiercely over their shared business empire for months, and there was no love lost between them. As Jane interrogated Susan, it became clear that all evidence did point to her as the culprit. She had a rock-solid alibi, but Jane had a gut feeling that something wasn't quite right. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this case than met the eye, so Jane continued to dig and investigate, certain that there was something amiss. She searched Birmingham's office with a fine-tooth comb, looking for any clues that might lead her to the real culprit. And before long, she found her breakthrough. Hidden in a locked drawer, she found evidence that Birmingham was involved in some serious criminal activity. He had ties to organised crime, and he had been living a double life behind his wife's back. In fact, he had been planning to divorce Susan and leave her with nothing. It was clear that this was a complicated case, but Jane didn't let it overwhelm her. Rather, she put her detective skills to use and began to connect the dots. And soon, she had a theory about who the true culprit was. She believed that one of the criminal organisations Birmingham was involved with had taken issue with his plans for divorce, and in a twisted turn of events, they had murdered him in his own office to send a message. Jane worked tirelessly to gather evidence and build her case. She was determined to bring the real criminals to justice and clear Susan's name. And despite facing countless roadblocks and threats, she never gave up. Finally, after weeks of intense investigation, Jane had enough evidence to make an arrest. She was able to locate and apprehend the true culprits, and she was able to clear Susan's name once and for all. The case had been complicated and dangerous, but Jane had emerged victorious. She had proven that even in the most twisted and convoluted cases, justice could be served. And as she closed the case file and prepared to move on to her next task, she knew that she had truly earned her reputation as one of the best detectives in the business.